Hey everybody, Joe here. I'm with Tony Perkins today. He's the program youth professional at Boys and Girls Clubs in St. Louis, and they're at Roosevelt High School in St. Louis City this summer, starting up a program, and had a chance to catch up with him here. Very cool. So Tony has a condition called keloids, and for folks that don't know what that is, can you explain it?
Well, a keloid is a condition, skin condition, that when you have trauma to the skin, the scar tissue doesn't know when to stop growing, and it grows outside of the area that you have had the scar. So I found out about that I had keloids when I was like 9 years old. I injured myself. I was outside playing, and I injured myself, my stomach. And I, when the start, when it started to heal, the scar started to grow outside of the area, and my mom and dad took me to the hospital, and that's when we first heard about the term keloid. And at that particular time, I don't think that there was any kind of uh, medicines out that they were could help.
Hmm.
So basically, they were giving me steroid injections, which were very painful. And I asked my mom and dad, could I stop because
Mm.
I just couldn't take it. So time went on, and I started to play sports. I started to have different injuries, so I started to have them on my chest, my back, basically my upper torso. And in my 20s, I cut myself shaving, and I had like some smaller ones on my face. And then I went ahead to have surgery, and they started to grow back bigger and bigger and bigger and
Mm.
bigger. So that's how the keloids came about, as far as me and you know them basically coming. And I've had like about 4 or 5 surgeries, uh, none of which were successful. So here I am right now, talking about the keloid.
It's interesting. I did a little research, and there is it the Doctor's Show. Is that what that
The
is?
doctors, yes.
Yeah, it's if you go on YouTube, it's something like 270,000 views of this video. But Tony was up in New York, and they did a show on him, and you had more at the time.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I had like basically the both sides of my face were like more than palm sized keloids, and I had one covering my ear, my left ear. So I was on the doctor's show, and there were some doctors on there that offered me some help. But I already had a doctor whose name is Dr. Michael Jones, who whose practices in New York. And so I discussed it with my family, thought about it, prayed about it, and we decided to stick with Dr. Michael Jones simply because he promised a 90 to 95% success rate, which the other doctors were promising 50%. So, I went ahead and went with Michael Jones. As you can see, I've had the first part of my surgery in March um, of this year. Yeah, March of this year. So I'm scheduled to go back September 12th so I could have some more surgery done. I did have a follow up with Dr. Jones in April, to see how everything is going. And so far, it's going pretty well. They had to reconstruct my ear. Uh, the part that I have covered up, they treated with it's a synthetic radiation. It's called SRT 100, which kills the keloid cells and it shrinks it. So that's why I have to keep it covered up because it's in the process of dying off.
So you met a gentleman named Keenan at your doctor's office, and he was saying the doctor, you two are the most severe cases he's seen.
Yes, yes. The guy Keenan, he basically the keloids he had two were in the same, basically the same area, on both sides of his face. And I met him while I was in New York, but I don't know how his came about. I don't really know his story, but we've kept in contact with each other. And he was there at the time that I was in New York to have my first surgery done. He was actually coming to have the last part of his face done, which when I saw him gave me hope because when I looked at him from the first time I saw him up until this time, it looked like he never had keloids. So I'm very excited about the whole process. I'm trying to have fundraisers to raise money. I do have a GoFundMe page out there, that's at a complete standstill. But I have faith that by September the 12th, I'll have money in place. And not only do I have to have surgery, finish up the surgery for my face, but I have to have surgery on my upper torso as well.
So, if we just ended it right now, that would be one story, right? How Tony's overcoming this condition of keloids. But that's just the intro to the bigger story, I think. The bigger story is Tony's impact on youth. And everybody knows that, middle schoolers, that kind of thing, very sensitive to how they look and the whole thing. Well, from what I'm hearing from other folks, Tony, because of his confidence and warrior spirit, these kids, you're giving them hope. And I read an article by Sandra Jordan with the St. Louis American. She interviewed you. Basically, I'll sum it up. It said, you said, I'll paraphrase, you have a condition on the outside. How many people have a condition on the inside? And Tony is kind of like the poster child of these kids that they're feeling good about themselves. Matter of fact, this Boys and Girls Club is one of the top ones in the country as far as recruiting. And it's this guy because of his motivational story. So why don't you share some of that? Because I think that's the really big story.
Well, the kids that I work with, I've been at Roosevelt. This would be my second year. And when I first came to Roosevelt, I was reluctant to come simply because the kids were high schoolers. I basically worked with middle school kids, and I know how cruel they can be. But my experience it's overwhelming simply because there are kids that see me walking up and down the hall with my head held high, proud, and they come to me whenever they have problems or whatever and to talk. And I guess it's my confidence that they see that draws them to me. And my whole thing is I've never had a kid that I met that, I didn't love or they didn't love me. So, it helps with not only the kids, but there are some adults who will come to me and ask me what's happening. And, I was talking to Joe and I told him about an experience I had with a young lady in the library. And she asked me what happened, and I gave her, basically my history with the keloids and, where I am right now. And she started to cry, and I told her everything was all right. But she said, well, you just helped me because I was going through some things. And that's what I meant when I said, there are a lot of people who have things on the inside that are dealing with them way worse than how I'm dealing with this. And I just thank God that I'm able to, I don't know what this is for, but I'm able to help people through it. I look at it as a curse turned into a blessing, and that's what it truly is.
That's the point, folks. Your small voice can make changes, and just everybody's out there holding something inside, right? And your conditions happen to be on the outside. Right. So we're going to post the GoFundMe information at the end of this. Please share this as much as you can to get the word out. This guy, he's springing for his dime to get this done, and it's real important. So, Tony, a real pleasure.
Okay.
Thanks. Be sure to share it.
All right. Thank you.
Cool.